with Yarn Theory and their game Space for Two. If you guys would like to just introduce yourselves and what you did, what you supported with the game. You want to start on this side?
Yeah. I'm Michael, I'm the designer, and yeah, I did designing and coordinating with the team.
Hi, I'm Gu, and I did primarily environment art as well as the UI art.
I'm Harry, I'm a programmer. I did most of the minigame programming and a couple other bits here and there.
And I'm Lowena, I'm also a programmer, and I primarily worked on the customization scene and the UI for the game.
Lovely. So if I could ask, what was the inspiration behind the game, if you had any, or why did you want to make this game in particular?
Well, when we first got the pitch from a different teammate that's not on stage, they presented Bubble and Squeak, and we knew we wanted to do a couch co-op game, just because we saw at EXPO last year there were games like that, and we all loved them. We came back to EXPO, came back to the booths multiple times, and so we knew we wanted to do a cozy couch co-op game. And Juliet made a pitch for two characters, Bubble and Squeak, and honestly, my first reaction was like, how has no one done Bubble the fish and Squeak the cat before? So yeah, that was the first inspiration, and then I guess we did some development throughout. Do you want to talk about the art bit?
Yeah, so for the art, we knew that we wanted it to be colourful, maybe a bit sort of chunky and exaggerated in places. So we got quite a few images of nebulas, because space can be really colourful, we just can't see it. And we looked at things like Astroneer, Overcooked, that sort of thing. And one of the key design pillars that we wanted was we wanted things like the planets to be edible or crunchable. You could just pick it up and you could eat it, sort of thing.
I think that is my favorite thing with games.
Yeah.
It's that looks very edible. I want it, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and we wanted the two characters. We wanted them to be a little bit sort of chubby, a bit sort of bring some personality in their walk and things like that.
Yeah, so. I think a fair amount of people on the team really like space. But we explored it in our pitch for the game, but there's a ton of space games that are kind of scary and very violent, and we wanted to explore the great unknown and the beauty of space, and that was a big inspiration for that. Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. I mean, anything from you guys, or just about the same?
During the start of development, we did a thing where we're right, we know roughly what we want the game to be, but everyone drew an imaginary screenshot of what they thought the finished game should look like. Okay. And we got a ton of different responses, but there was some similarities in it, and so we kind of took these ideas and then came to a concrete distilled vision for the game.
That was a really fun exercise.
Yeah. I mean, some of them are quite true to the game and how it's ended up, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like Mike was saying before, we always wanted to do a cozy couch co-op game. Obviously, people play co-op online, but it's a completely different experience to be sat together, playing it together in the same room. So games Overcooked and Astroneer and stuff, we really want to just bring that experience to our game.
Lovely. And I mean, it looks absolutely adorable. Was there anything that you guys had obstacles when you were making the game, or something that you really enjoyed when it was in production?
I mean, our biggest obstacle basically throughout was how to teach the players, because it's a very simple game at its core, but we knew that we wanted to make it basically for EXPO. So how do we teach these things in a very short time frame? And that was one of the things that kept getting flagged throughout development, was we needed better tutorials. But it's been nice at EXPO, since we've worked on that so much, that we've seen people just get the game without having to explain it to them extra. And so all of that worked in the tutorials has kind of paid off.
Yeah, we can just completely step back now. It's great just seeing people from young 5-year-olds to grandparents just completely being able to play the game on their own. We don't need to be oh, go here next, or kind of guiding them what to do, which is, it's exactly what our goal was, and I think we achieved it quite well in the end.
I think earlier in production it was deceptively complicated.
Yes, 100%.
And we had to scale it back a little bit. Not too much, we still had the same vision that we had before, but it was very much, we had a lot more mechanics that were working together in unison, and we ended up realizing that with the short amount of time that people have with the game, we don't want to teach them for half an hour, which will end up happening especially at EXPO and especially like for our final submission when the lecturers play it. And so we just scaled it back and had a really good short tutorial, and then the rest of the game was, even if you don't get it straight away, it's kind of foolproof to the point where even if you don't actually know what you're doing, just flying around and collecting stuff and bumping into asteroids, you get it. You're just having fun, and there's no like wrong way of playing it. Yeah.
I guess that's really nice for like an audience perspective or someone playing the game. It's just easy to get. It's nice, good fun. Was there any mechanics that you especially liked, or?
Well, I would say when I was first kind of doing the design pillars for the game, I was very keen to do chambers. Well, that was one of our design pillars, is chambers, is that games that are great for co-op, couch co-op, or just any co-op where you can pick up and play. Getting one person to have time to play the game especially is hard, let alone two people. And so being able to just pick it up and play and go from like one area to the next, that's like a strong contender. And I think making both the resource phase, like the first phase, and the minigame phase work together in harmony was like, it was difficult because we knew that we were linking them correctly. It was just teaching the player that. And just getting two solid phases that work together was difficult, but I think that's like my favorite part of the game, is that we all had our own influence into like different aspects of it. Well, we won Holistic Harmony at the awards, and so like that kind of goes to show that like, everything just works together. So that's my favorite part.
Very nice. Anyone else got a favorite part, or?
Alright, one of our other programmers, Derry, she made basically a custom physics system for when you're like orbiting around a planet. So you'll like bump the ship into an asteroid, and it will like go or speed around in orbit and then smash into other rocks, and they'll ping off. And it's just a really cool thing to mess around with. It's just like bumping into things and seeing where they go.
I mean, I'd say the barrel roll is definitely one of my favorites. It's not even an important feature, but we begged Harry for months to add this one little roll where you can do a 360 in the mini games. I think, people definitely enjoy it. It's like a hidden feature.
It was like 2 months of, can you add the roll yet? Can you add the roll yet? And I was like, fine, I'll add the roll. And it's like, the roll's really good. We love the roll.
Very nice. I was about to say, that seems like there was a lot of good communication within the team as a whole. Did you ever have any hiccups so that you had to get over, or?
I mean, in an 11-person team, it's always hard to like...
11?
Yeah, 11-person team. It's hard to all be on the same page, and there have definitely been moments where someone would make a change, and you can't... There's like decisions daily, and we can't always just say, oh yeah, by the way, I changed the asteroid to be blue. Like it would... But coming all together, especially during like supervisor sessions, and just showcasing the work that we've done, like to each other, and playtesting it every Monday was brilliant, because a lot of people say every time they walk past the state or like the screen when we were doing crits, they would just say, oh, it's dramatically different from like 2 weeks ago. And it's true, because like we would add set dressing, we'd add another different mini game, we'd add flying fish and a flying whale. Like it would change every other week, and it was it wasn't like perfect, but I think us as a team definitely worked really hard to make sure that we were working together. Pair programming, pair everything. Like I know when you were doing when Luena was doing the customization scene, you worked with Goo, you worked with Juliet, you worked with like loads of people, and I think that's just kind of, that works. If you're isolated just working on one thing on your own, it kind of, you lose vision of what like the whole thing is. So working closely with other devs definitely help.
Do we want to like show off the game?
Yes, please. I mean, yeah, hit start, show it off. That can lead me into the next question of like, is there any special details or something you like in particular that you would want to show off to those at home, those in the audience?
The mouse.
The mouse.
There's a bit in the game where like both players have an arm and they have a button they need to press to decide what they're doing in the mini game. But Juliet one day just modeled a mouse and put it in, and so you can just hover over it and like press it, and it starts squeaking. And so the game doesn't tell you that, but so many people are like, I wonder what happens if I press it.
It's a fun Easter
it,
egg.
it squeaks. It's like my favorite small detail, I think.
We've sat behind lecturers or playtesters playing, and we just see them hovering over the mouse, and we really want them to press A and click on it, but like most people get it, and most people like you can hear it on the other side of the expo room. That like you can just hear the mouse being spammed.
Aggressive squeaking.
Yeah. But most of the time people get it, but it's really frustrating when they don't, because you're going to really enjoy just annoying everyone around you.
Fair enough.
My favourite part probably is just the harmony in the resource phase when you get to the later levels, because like, actually no, my favourite part is the complete experience of it all. I think it was very hard we had the loop like from very early on that you would go from this resource phase to the minigame phase,
right,
and then you gain more stars, and we knew that stars were like the main concept, and we knew that there was a limit of like what star percentage we need to get to, and we forever we were just like, oh, that's a later thing, that's it. But seeing people actually get to the finish and go, oh, so did we beat it? It's surprisingly really nice to see people go, oh, I just beat the game. Especially in the like awesome credit sequence that we have that was like mocked up in like a week and built, and quite often Eden, our audio designer, and basically does a bunch of other stuff apart from audio as well, but he likes to play around with music as well, and he just one day was like, oh yeah, I've made like a rock track of the main theme, and we were like, this is the credits scene music.
It's like, look at this, it's shiny.
Yeah, exactly.
It's nice. Like a lot of games don't have a credits page in the menu, like let alone an interactive one that you can fly through, and like you can still interact with the environment and collect the stickers and crash into things and send them flying. So it's really nice as like a final like thank you for playing, just for players to enjoy and fly through. I really like that part of the game. I'm glad we added it a lot. Thank you, Derry.
Yeah, and you'll probably know this because I mean you voiced Bubble, but
no, I didn't.
In
Bubble?
Yeah,
Did they? I thought
Raven voiced Bubble.
I voiced Squeak.
Squeak, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
It's been a long expo.
Yeah, but like in the like recording booth, I remember we were talking about what we wanted you guys to say during that credits thing, and I'm glad we got it in, because like I really wanted it just like an ending, kind of a bit. It's a bit heartfelt at the very end, because I think, well, you might be able to see if they beat the game, but
how fast can you speedrun
your
own game?
We can do it pretty fast, I think.
Yeah, at the end they're just like, where to next? And that's kind of like, I mean, I don't want to get sentimental, but that's kind of like what a team is doing. It's like, we finished the game, you get to the credits and you're finished, and like the whole team are doing different things now. I don't know what we're going to do. Like, I don't know if we're going to continue with this at some point in the future, but at the moment it's like a finished experience, and it's really nice to see it all like finished and come together. I
suppose that was my next question. What are the plans for, I mean, after Expo ends, because I assume the majority of you are year threes, yes, so you're graduating.
Yep.
And do you have plans to go into the industry? Do you already have, a plan or a path?
I mean, a few of us have applied for Transfuser, which is like a national game fund. So while we're waiting to hear back from that, obviously, just see where it takes us for now. But if we get that, it'll be a really exciting opportunity for some of us, the team, to be able to stay together and continue development. But we'll just have to wait and see on that one. I think a few of us are staying on. Just don't quite want to leave Falmouth just yet. So There's a few of us staying for masters and a few of us applying for jobs and stuff. So we're all going in very drastically different directions. But it's very exciting to see where everyone will go.
We have had like a surprising amount of people come over and be like, "Oh, you're taking this further, right? Like, are you putting this
You're
on
gonna
Steam?"
make it longer.
Yeah, so it's like we didn't really think about putting it on Steam, and then there's like a bit of discussions, like
Yeah.
maybe it's
Definitely a
worth
lot of
it.
people asking about it. I
it's-
feel
yeah, it's
bad.
like
There's a
people
market.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I've had. I mean, I can't even count how many people today have come up to me and asked for the itch page or asked like, "Are we like pursuing further development on the game?" There's so many people that are really interested and just really love a cute little couch co-op. So it's really nice to see after working on it for so long.
We've had a lot of discussions about like the game and whether we take it forward, and I think we always say that like Bubble and Squeak as an IP or a, like just characters in the game are exceedingly iconic, and it's great, and I think we all want to do more stuff with the two characters in the world, but in terms of like this game, there's so much more to do to make it publishable. Like I think people underestimate how much work goes into like making a game that people will pay money for. The experience that we have at the moment is a good 20-minute solid fun experience, but I can imagine that if this gameplay loop goes on for an hour or two, people will be wanting more, and that's kind of just what game players want. They just want more and more variety, and that will take. It's taken us 6 months to get to this point, and I think rebuilding it and adding more stuff would take like a year or two or even more.
Yeah.
And so I think we're all moving on to different things. I mean, some people doing masters, some people potentially doing transfuser, some people are getting jobs because we know they'll get jobs. They're great, but like I think we all would probably come back to this at some point. So it's not publicly available or available to steal. We still own Bubble and Squeak.
Please don't take Bubble and Squeak away from us.
The whole team, we all like love the game. Like we love Bubble and Squeak. We love the environment, the space fish that fly around. Like we've all put so much work into it.
It's definitely something you'd want to continue just down the line. That's
Very
nice.
much like a child of love. Like we love it too much. Don't want to let it go.
We don't want to like publish it unfinished as well.
Yeah.
Like I think that's the whole point. We could bug fix it, put like a menu at the start that says like short and long experience, and put it on Steam or itch, which we will do, but not as like an official this is fully released thing.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to just put it out and go, yeah, there you go, that's it, finished. We'd want it to be a proper full finished experience that we are proud to say, yeah, we've made that. And as a demo and as like an expo submission, I'm exceedingly proud of like us and the whole team and the work that we made, but it's not publishable yet.
That makes sense.
I mean, Petal, the other game, is going into potentially publishing their game, and it's very different, not standards. I think we have equal amounts of quality. It's just the direction they're taking with their game compared to our game is very much different directions.
That makes sense.
Petal's a very, very different game compared to ours as well,
Yeah.
because theirs is an actual puzzle game, and it's very different working with 2D sprites as opposed to just creating like full-on 3D environments.
Yeah.
Because if we were to take this game further, we would be having. Sorry, I'm not concentrating now. Like if we were to expand the game further, it would be a case of having, maybe different galaxies and different planets and things like that, and even creating new features. So for us, it's a lot more different as opposed to them, I think.
That makes sense. Was there anything that you guys had wanted in the game that maybe scope didn't quite allow in time to get it ready for Expo?
We removed the whole machine because we wanted it to. We initially had 3 machines, and we just scrapped one because, again, we didn't want to spend a whole hour explaining the game to people. And so we cut down to 2 machines, and there were so many ideas around the whale, which I would love to put in. Like, people were saying, you could go up to the whale, pet its belly, and it will shoot out resources. And interactions like that with the environment, I think we have them. Like, you fly around and go into the aurora and you see the whale and the manta rays and the buoys, but I think we wanted to do more interactive interactions with the environment.
I think initially we definitely we wanted some other elements, so like a shark maybe that chases you and you can't be outside the ship, otherwise like you'll get dragged along, or maybe some things that kind of go wrong inside the ship, like how Overcooked in the later levels, the whole place just starts burning and moving around, and it gets a little bit more hectic and adds a bit more drama to the game. We definitely played with some of those, but yeah, just scoping issues. I would so love to do things like that, like maybe have one of the machines break, or you have to go outside and fix one of the thrusters, otherwise you'll just go in circles forever. Things like that would be really lovely to explore for like future development if we were to ever carry on with this game.
Yeah, there's so much room for it. Like, there's so much interaction with the space is very empty if you think about it realistically, but we've made it so full of life that there's so much room to interact and explore with it that we wanted to, but again, it's we needed to make a short experience for Expo and submission that if we did, it would be very overscoped.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I suppose a more fun question that I can ask now, just for the jokes and sheer entertainment of this, is if you were dropped into your game, what's the first thing you would do? Not as the developer, not as the person working on art, just right inside of the game.
Go up to the whale, probably. It's a really cool thing that we had at the very beginning, and we did incorporate it, but then we had to take it out because we were doing so much work on this phase, and within the last couple of months of development we brought it back in, and just having that experience of having the whale fly around, I'd love to see that in person. That would be really cool.
I mean, I think I'd have to clean the ship up a bit. There's bubbles everywhere, there's foot marks, there's like mouse toys all over the main console.
But we like
how
the
are you meant to
mouse
fly
toys.
a ship with a mouse over the controls?
First thing I would do is just squeak the mouse. I'd just be there all day, like.
I mean, yeah, obviously it's a very beautiful environment, and I mean, if you were inside it in real life, I think that would be incredible. I don't actually have, well, 2 small windows to look out of. We might have to get some suits on and go outside, explore a bit.
Fair enough.
I think swimming with the manta rays would be my favourite. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
the whale, but I think the manta rays are still my favourite.
Just that much better, eh? I was going to ask, what's everyone's favourite minigame? Because I'm sure there's plenty of them.
The shooter.
The shooter.
Shooter's really fun. I think both of the players have something to... Well, all of the mini-games the players have something to do, but I think with the shooter one, you kind of don't even really talk to each other that much. You just know what each other are doing.
Full concentration.
Yeah, because the other mini-games are fun because... especially with the horizontal and vertical, there is a lot of arguing, which is exactly what we wanted in the game. There's a lot of arguing with, why didn't you go down or up?
Why didn't you go up, Harry?
But the shooter, you just know what each other are doing.
Right.
It's good.
I think my favourite one's the one where each player has a different ship.
Yeah.
I like the more competitive nature in a very collaborative game. And the fact that you can win a crown at the end if you're the winner. You get to walk around the resource phase with a little glowing crown on your head. I've never actually beaten anyone I've been against on that scene.
Oh, no.
But
I mean,
one day.
Yeah, because the mini games are basically like they're like my baby. They're what I've spent most of my time working on, which means I'm pretty good at the starfish one because I made it. So I can win
That's
that quite a
cheating.
lot. So I would probably say that one.
Didn't win this one though, Harry, huh?
Oh, no. So I'm afraid I was the one distracting them at this point. And I guess I'm looking out at the entire team. You obviously have the headbands. Do any of you have a particularly favorite child between Bubble and Squeak?
Oh, Squeak, like hands down.
Yeah.
Nah,
Obviously.
Bubble all the way. I love Bubble so much. I concepted Bubble really early on, so from like start to finish, I've just seen him grow as a little character, and I love him to bits.
Yeah.
It's really nice to see their like personalities portrayed, like obviously in the ship and with their little icons, but even like down to details on their suits. Like Squeak's suit, he's got like his claws out because just they're too sharp and poke holes, and all of the patches. Whereas Bubbles is like super nice and clean and tidy. It's a really nice like contrast to have.
We've also got at our booth little cardboard cutouts that are like this big, and I think they just like show their characters quite well.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because people will come by and be like, oh, it's the game with the cat and the fish in space.
Oh.
And so it's nice to see other people enjoy the characters as much as we have throughout development.
Yeah.
Great.
I Bubble all the way. Like, I know Squeak is mischievous, but I love when when Robin was voicing Bubble, he had it's just both of you had quite a lot of character just put into the voice straight away, and with Bubble specifically, there was a slight camp nature to it. But you can hear it in some of the voice lines. But it was really fun doing the I can't say I did the voice acting, but just being there for the voice acting sessions, because you can probably attest to it was just like having fun with both of the characters. And we couldn't have like asked for like two better voice actors to voice them. But yeah, Bubble's great. We have half the team as Squeak and half the team as Bubble.
It's a nice balance.
Yeah.
I guess another thing we could dive in just for a little bit about the voice acting is how you guys chose that you even wanted it in your game, for example.
Chose the what?
Why did you guys choose to have voice acting in your game instead of just having subtitles or...
Oh, well, I mean, it brings so much character to the characters. You can read text on the screen, and it works for a lot of games. But for us, the two characters are basically the body of the game, and having lively voice lines for like everything that happens, it just brings so much more character to like anything you do in the game.
I mean, it almost feels like you're not playing as Bubble and Squeak, you're playing with them. Like, they have their own character, like, their own personalities, they seem like their own people, and you're just playing with them, and I think the voice lines really add to that. Like, they're interacting together, you and the person you're playing with is like interacting together, and I think it just makes the experience so much more, like, nicer. And definitely when there's some more like downtime, like you're just flying around and they just go, oh, there's a whale, and start talking about like random things in the environment. It's really lovely.
And yeah, as you know, Squeak does a whale impression, which is one of my favorite voice lines in the game.
It's great.
I remember it fondly. I think that was still in, if I could just stop for a second, that was the development where you're like, oh, well, we had a whale.
Yep.
And I was like, what do you mean had? You can bring it back, right?
Yeah.
And I was so hopeful. Well, with that, we've got about a minute left. Would you guys like to plug your work or your LinkedIn so that people can find you, or possibly follow future development should you guys want to continue? Annalyn?
I would just say on the itch page we have all of our portfolios and our LinkedIns. We have a team LinkedIn that we post about stuff, and if you follow that, I guess you'll find out whether Swift 2's coming back or not. Who knows?
Watch that space, I would say.
Watch that space. Yeah. Just follow the LinkedIn and look at our itch page, because there was a ton of work gone into it, and seeing everyone's portfolios and the work that they've done to this game, it's dramatic how much work each person has done, and it's really good. It's really good.
Good. Cool. I mean, thank you guys so much for talking about this. I'm not being biased, but I thoroughly enjoy this game and would love to see development continue. So thank you guys so much for making such a cute little game for Expo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.